car loads deep, time to go to a show. Got massive crew, and we're ready to roll. So I grab my gear, hop in the whip and ride. Premiere's got the fly dope system inside, but my shit cranks too. And we got mad tapes of all the underground groups with the lyrics and bass. Off into the New York night we go. Dre Lodge got the camera, biggest cords got 3 rolls of film, so we can take the Mac'd out photos. Tommy Hill, the Damager, and my man Gusmo. Corey and Smurf, and Little Dab's got a 40. My man Gary and Shiz, and the Nutcracker Shorty, Mike Throne. Chillin' like Capone, Robin Hood known as Mel with the clientele. Mo, JT Mega, and can't forget Black, Big Rob and Sincere, yes the posse's fat. Out Loud pulls up, plus this in and OC. Big Mel from Strong Eye, NHL, the one and only. Oh delicious Eli, Baz, Eon. And the aroma of the blunts has me thinking beyond. And to the rest of the crew, you know the bond is strong. And you know who's who, so let me not prolong. For this was a night to remember. I had on the bass Timbs with the 2-tone leather. So we get to the jam, the gig, the venue. Then we circled around and then drove into the front. The place was packed, the line was long. I was bobbing my head cause the music was on. I turned it down, then I peeked to my right. I saw this kid and this girl having a fight. Another kid walked up, mushed the kid in his face. And then the kid pulled out, busted him and laid him to waste. A riot broke out, girls screaming and scheming crews. Started buck wildin', trying to snatch kids' Jews. After that, 5-0 came and turned the party out. Then an ambulance came to take the body out. And we didn't even get all the equipment out. And we didn't even get to turn the place out. This can happen often and it's really fucked up. So I'll ask you to your face, homeboy, what's up? Did you come to see my show or to the stupid nigga playoffs? Killing you and killing me, it's the soliloquy of chaos. And if you live in cities where the streets wreak warfare, people getting nowhere but you're going for yours there, you'll find it doesn't pay to front or play the role. You could get stole or maybe beat with a pole, then you want to retaliate, regroup and come back. So you set up the brothers for a sneak attack. Whether you die or kill them, it's another brother dead. But I know you'll never get that through your head, cause we're misled and misfed facts, we're way off, killing you and killing me. It's the soliloquy of chaos.
Good evening, I'm Spencer Michaels.
And I'm Akila Buchanan.
We, like hundreds of other reporters, have spent a lot of our time the past few years covering the drug epidemic and its side effects. The nation is more concerned than ever with the sale and use of illegal drugs. For the first time in our history, we have a national cabinet-level drug czar. In the Bay Area, drugs have created individual tragedies, clogged our courts, torn apart families, strained the social welfare system, and led to crime and violence that may even include gang warfare. Tonight, we will tell you 4 stories, each of which illustrates one aspect of the drug deluge. They are stories that have previously appeared on Channel 9's Express.
The single greatest scourge has been the introduction of an old drug in a new and more dangerous form, crack cocaine. Crack is a rock crystal substance that is usually smoked in a pipe. It induces an intense, short, and relatively inexpensive high. Crack is widely believed to be the most addictive drug ever sold on the streets. Although crack use cuts across class and racial boundaries, its most devastating impact has been felt by black addicts and their families. Our stories tonight focus on that impact. One of the people whose lives were forever changed by crack was a young woman named Deborah Stewart. Earlier this year, we told you of her harrowing story of living on the edge, a story of 20 years of self-indulgence and self-destruction. Were it not for crack, Deborah Stewart today would be the mother of year-old twin boys. But she is not, because 5 months into her pregnancy, Stewart went on a 3-day binge with the drug she called her best friend.
Cocaine was my best friend. It didn't answer me back, it didn't give me a hard time, it didn't argue with me, and it was there if I needed it. He had $400 worth of crack on him, and here I am, a pregnant woman, with no man around, an empty apartment. He and I spent the whole evening and the next morning smoking. After I took that first hit, I forgot that I was pregnant.
Miss Stewart told investigators that on Thursday morning at about 11 a.m., while in the bathroom, she gave birth to a baby boy. She left the kicking and squealing infant on the bathroom floor and went into her bedroom to continue freebasing. At about 3 p.m. on Thursday, Miss Stewart said that she went to the bathroom again and delivered a second child, which she thought was stillborn. Second infant was left in the toilet. Both infants were dead. The children were twin boys.
If I had to live February 11th over again, I'd rather it been me than my boys.
Deborah Stewart is repentant now, but she faces a prison sentence for involuntary manslaughter. Medical experts say her firstborn had less than a 10% chance of living, but prosecutors believe Stewart never gave him that chance because she waited 5 hours before calling an ambulance for help. The defense attorney says the 37-year-old former model and office worker did not intend to kill her son. She is not a criminal, he says, but the victim of 20 years of addiction to alcohol and crack cocaine. It began back east in New York City. Deborah Stewart was born in Brooklyn, the elder of 2 daughters to Muriel and Earl Livingston Stewart. Her parents were civil servants, both employed by the United States Postal Service. Deborah was a bright child. She was pretty and her mother says quite precocious. And she adored her father. He was a handsome, strapping man, a former Golden Gloves contender who would never use his hands to discipline his little girl.
I was a real spoiled child, and when I didn't get my way, it was either my way or no way. I had control issues from when I was a kid. And when I didn't get my way, I used to wish that he was dead. And one day he died.
Deborah's father was killed in a train accident, which left her mother alone with 2 young children.
The death of my father took a heavy toll on my mother. It was a lot of stress for her. We got a lot of that stress, okay? And I was the older, so I got the brunt of a lot of the frustration. I didn't help matters. I didn't know how to reach out from a child. I didn't know how to reach out. And what I ended up doing was punishing my mother. I was a problem child from that point. I had my first drink when I was about 14 years old behind my mom's back. My mother entertained a lot, and quite frequently I would find half-filled glasses of liquor for drugs. I guess I was about 16 years old, and I had my first experience with hallucinogens, acid, mescaline, mostly acid. I was caught up in the excitement. I was just, I guess, a culture shock from my mother, because I was pretty fast for 16.
Deborah left home, living with relatives and friends and taking on odd jobs. In her early 20s, Deborah tried modeling and was swept away by the glamour and glitz of the fashion world. She loved the perks, the clothes, the jewelry, the parties, and a new drug.
I found myself liking cocaine at that point in my life.
How did cocaine make you feel? How did crack make you feel?
Cocaine made me feel like nothing could stop me. Crack, it's more of an intense high. And once you take the first hit, once I would take the first hit, the rush that you would get from smoking, all you would think about is more. I got to a point in my life where I relied on cocaine more than I relied on anything or anybody.
Deborah Stewart's modeling career was ruined when she was found stealing clothes and jewelry from job assignments. Out of work and without money, she would resort to more crime, passing bad checks and credit cards, prostitution, dealing in cocaine, and smoking crack. Her life in New York City was out of control, but instead of seeking help, she headed for Northern California, believing a move out west would help change her life.
New people, fresh friends, fresh everything. didn't work out like that. Took 6 months and I was right back where I started. I ran into people that I knew from New York out here. And it was back to the fast lane again.
When did you realize you were addicted to crack, that you were addicted to cocaine?
In 1984.
Why
I realized I was a dope addict in 1984.
Why didn't you shout for help? There were programs then. There were your mother, friends who didn't use drugs, a priest, the church.
I didn't know how to reach out for help when my disease had gotten to that point. What crack and cocaine and drugs and alcohol did for me was to keep me from getting into Debbie. I was afraid. I was afraid to let anybody know what was going on, to let anybody know that something had control over me other than me.
The last job that Deborah Stewart held was here at a law firm at 101 California Street in downtown San Francisco. She worked as a legal secretary, and supervisors say in the beginning her job performance was satisfactory. But then they began to notice that she was missing days from work. Deborah later confessed that she would spend her entire paycheck on crack and go on smoking binges for days at a time. The law firm told her to seek help or face termination. That was around the same time that a doctor gave her another bit of sobering news.
I found out I was pregnant, which was in September of '87. When I went to the doctor and let him know that I had been using and wanted to determine whether the fetus was still alive, that's when they performed the sonogram, and they found not one fetus, but two. And that kind of sent me out. Emotionally. I was happy, I was elated, I was scared. And when I tried to communicate this to the father, he didn't seem to share the same feelings.
What did he say to you?
The first thing he wanted to assume that it wasn't his. I had to handle accepting the fact that the father was not willing to take any responsibility, financially, emotionally, none.
Despite the father's irresponsibility, Stewart insists she wanted to have her twins. Yet she too failed to face the more immediate and more dangerous threat to her children's well-being. Never during the 5 months of her pregnancy did she seek treatment for her addiction to crack.
I was at the corner store one evening, the evening of February 9th, and I ran into someone in the store that happened to have a large quantity of cocaine and needed some place to hide out for a while. This was an ideal situation for someone that didn't have an outlet to sell drugs to use and would camouflage what the activity was because I was pregnant. There was a way we could make money. I had no food in the house. I had no money for car fare. I needed money for clothes and furniture for my boys. We could make some money. And all I had to do was have a cue about some drugs, and everything else took the back seat.
You liked it?
I liked it. I still like it, but I know today I can't use it.
Since her arrest almost 1 year ago, Deborah Stewart says she has not used any drugs or alcohol. She attends meetings of AA and Narcotics Anonymous and has been a resident at a drug rehabilitation center in West Oakland. Today, 11 months later, she says she is a changed person.
People will say, why couldn't she do that then? Why couldn't she find something in her life meaningful to keep her off drugs? Why did she have to lose almost everything before she went straight?
I'm a sick individual, and I have a disease. Substance abuse is a progressive predicament. I was not a happy person, and I did not know how to live. Some people are fortunate when they're coming up to have goals and ideals, you know, and other people just basically hang on to the easiest or the fastest thing that they can get their hands on. And I was one of those people.
Why should people now believe that you're okay? Why should people now believe that you won't go back on crack? Why should I believe a 180-degree conversion?
There's nothing that I could say to convince you. All I can just say is just watch me. I mean, you know, I know there is certain death for me if I use any chemical controlling substance. You know, I was almost dead when all this happened to me. You know, and I know it's waiting for me. I know I am one drink or one pill away from dying.
Since we reported that story, Deborah Stewart pleaded guilty to 1 count of involuntary manslaughter. Last month, Judge Stanley Gold sentenced her to 3 years in prison, but he suspended the sentence, so Stewart will not serve time. Instead, she must report to a probation officer for 5 years and enter a drug treatment facility. After the sentencing, Stewart said that the greatest punishment was the one she had already inflicted on herself, and she expressed the hope that one day she might bear children again.
Take the Deborah Stewart case and add to it hundreds of other narcotics cases in county after county, and you'll get some idea of how drugs, especially crack, are affecting our courts every day. In San Francisco, 61% of all new felony cases are related to crack, forcing the courts to administer an almost assembly line approach to justice. Late in the spring, the people on the front line, the judges, prosecutors, and public defenders who work in the courthouse, allowed us to watch and listen as they struggled to keep pace with the torrent of new crack cases.
Let's just hold on until we talk to the judge about that, because I got to go in a minute to do the arraignments, okay?
Mark Goldrosen and Terry Jackson spent hour upon hour dealing with crack. Goldrosen is an assistant public defender in San Francisco with 6 years on the job. Jackson has spent the last 8 years as an assistant district attorney. They and hundreds of others have had their routines and their lives changed by crack, a change that some say is affecting the quality of justice in the city. It's 8 a.m. San Francisco sheriff's deputies are rounding up the 200 county jail inmates who are scheduled for court appearances today. Since crack cocaine became a popular drug 5 years ago, the number of arrests and prosecutions for crack possession and sales has soared. Terry Jackson, who left a lucrative job in real estate law so she could do trial work as a DA, maintains a hectic pace to keep up with the court calendar.
We're in here in the morning. We have to assemble our own files. We have to talk to the witnesses while we're trying to read the files so we can do an effective job on arraignment, trying to indicate to the judge whether or not someone should be OR'd or not. We have to convince witnesses who have been served that, yes, you have to come into court. No, that subpoena is not an invitation. I realize you want to drop the charges, but you have to come in, you have to talk to us, and it's our decision. They are putting in their hours. They're here at 7:30 in the morning. They're here at 9 o'clock at night. They're here on Saturdays. They're here on Sundays. And that's just the nature of the beast. The volume has increased.
Paul, has anyone come in to see me? John McDonald come in? Okay.
A block from the Hall of Justice, Mark Goldrosen prepares to defend a caseload full of alleged crack offenders. Before coming here, he clerked for Chief Justice Rose Bird at the California Supreme Court.
If I have a preliminary hearing day where I'm doing maybe 8 or 9 preliminary hearings, it would not be unusual for 2/3 of those cases to involve sale, possession, for sale or possession of crack.
The problem is that there are so many cases that the strain is on the attorney, that the possibility of errors and omissions, malpractice, increases. You can create a strain that no matter how good an attorney you are, that some mistake of a major nature is going to happen.
Court begins in 20 minutes, and Goldrosen is concentrating on keeping straight the details of the dozens of cases he will defend today. On his way, he is met by a client.
So what's going to happen this morning is you're on for preliminary hearing. That's where the police officers have to come to court, testify under oath about what happened. I get to ask them questions along with the district attorney, and we'll get to do a recess after that.
So you haven't had a chance to talk with the police officer, right?
No. Well, hold on. We'll talk during the recess about it, okay? But no, I haven't. I just had a chance to review the police report and the complaint and the rap sheet that they sent me, okay? I just see so many young people, 18, 19-year-old people, the nice kids, bright kids, seem to be throwing away their futures by getting involved in crack. I see people who have had good jobs, good families, who are not young. And suddenly these families crack up, these people start committing crimes when they have not committed crimes their whole lives and are doing violent things or crazy things.
But in court, those larger social questions get lost in the routine processing of hundreds of defendants through a complicated legal system and in the last-minute preparations for what is always a hectic day.
And I just want to put in a good word for keeping this guy behind bars. The problem being that the victim is very afraid that this guy's going to get out and do some more stuff.
What do you mean by stuff? Vandalism to the property or come after him?
They claim to see you with a piece of rock cocaine in your hand.
You're missing Smith. You're missing Freeman. All right, I'll have to go upstairs then. Is that Ravi?
I don't know.
Ravi? Hello? Okay, I'm upstairs in the office. I'll be back.
Just minutes before court starts, Public Defender Goldrosen meets some of his clients for the first time in the holding cell.
I'm going to go in and talk to them, so why don't you just shut up for a second?
You're a public defender, not public pretender, right?
You got it. We're going to go in there, we're going to plead not guilty, we're going to get a copy of the police report and the complaint. We're going to ask the judge to release you on an OR. And you understand what's going to happen this morning?
Yep, I'm washed up.
Well, we'll see. Don't give up yet.
All right, please.
I just want to know if Garcia's in a good mood this morning.
Oh, yeah, he's in a good mood.
All right, it's cool then.
Please be seated.
About 3 out of every 5 defendants in Judge David Garcia's municipal court are there on crack or crack-related charges.
Mr. McRae is asking that he be released on his own recognizance.
Mr. McRae, I'm not going to be able to do that, and let me explain to you very frankly why that is. It's because you've got another case pending in Department 9, similar charge. Bail here is set at $7,500. Do you understand that? Please come forward. Appearing to the court that you have successfully completed diversion. Accordingly, diversion is terminated. The criminal charges are dismissed, and you are discharged. Thank you, ma'am, for your courtesy. You're free to leave at this time. And that's pursuant to Penal Code Section 1000.3. There is really almost a rail train effect to the way we're practicing law. These cases are on an extremely fast track. Decisions are made very quickly about the case. Most of these cases do not go to a preliminary hearing. In this process, I'm afraid that something is being lost. The cases are becoming more impersonal. The cases are becoming too numerous. It has the qualities of a department store almost. We try to develop real standards for proportionality of treatment. In other words, each individual facing the same kind of crime with the same kind of background will probably receive the same ultimate sentence with small variations.
The pressure is on not to let crack cases clog the system. To speed the process, Judge Garcia takes a mid-morning recess and conducts discussions between attorneys, searching for agreement on punishment. This conference is considering the case of a young man charged with possession of crack and burglary.
So your offer is?
You want to package both together?
I'll take an offer for both, yeah.
I'm saying 2-year state prison.
All right. I don't think he wants to go to state prison.
Well,
I'd like to keep him on probation. You're going to sell it for,
I don't want to
sell
go
it for probation.
See, how many times has he been revoked? 6 months. He's already done 6 months. He's been modified. He's going to do state prison. Okay, so if you don't want the midterm, he's going to have to do low. I mean, he's got his modifications. He's already been warned, so to speak.
Will you offer him 16?
Sure. For today. He takes it now.
You have to be 16 on this, concurrent with...
Fine. He's going to do state prison, though.
Adversaries Jackson and Goldrosen, linked by their caseloads, dart between floors and courtrooms and judges, shifting their attention from one case to another. Almost all crack cases are felonies, so the attorneys must go to Superior Court for approval of any settlements. Judge Timothy Reardon has the final say.
It involves a sale of one rock
0.24 grams
for $20 to an undercover officer, and I've asked the court, instead of 6 months in the county jail, allow him to do 120 days either in the SWAT program or the work furlough program. The reason I'm requesting that is because he's 25 years old, has no other contacts with the system, and he's presently employed, and he has a very good job with. If he can save his job, that will help him.
The DA's position is that he should do the 6 months.
6 months county jail. Possibly we can interview the fact that he's working work furlough, but he did do a hand-to-hand sale with 2 undercover officers crack cocaine. He knew the terminology. He knew immediately how to comply with the request by the police officer. So this shows some sort of sophistication. It doesn't. We'll give an inference that he has not done. This is not his first time.
Mark, if you're looking for work furlough, the 6-month work furlough would seem to accommodate your client's interests in this matter. I also know you're looking for something less than 6 months.
Well, I prefer something less than.
Judges know that often the penalties they impose may not deter an offender from committing another crime. In fact, the most frequently heard criticism of the courts is that they are a revolving door. First-time offenders often get probation, go back on the streets, and then are rearrested for crack sales or possession. In San Francisco, nearly 50% of crack-related offenders reoffend, and many of them end up before Judge Lucy McCabe.
In the beginning, we always grant, I would say almost always, unless we're talking about 100 kilos of something, which is big-time drug dealing, that probation will work, that the guy or the girl will say, they got caught, I've got a serious problem, I'm going to get help, and then you don't see them again. But this situation, that didn't work.
Judge McCabe is hearing a motion to revoke the probation of a third-time crack offender, a proceeding much like a plea bargain.
Mark and I like to talk about this case. He's on 3 felony probations for possession of cocaine. He pled to possession of cocaine. And I believe he was just placed on probation about a year ago.
I don't think my client should go to prison on the case. The guy's 19 years old. If he does a year in the county jail, that's a lot of time.
The situation here is he's got 3 grants of probation. The supplemental report indicates that he never reported to the probation officer. He's never done anything about drug counseling on any of them. He's picked up 2 new cases, although there's only notice of one of them to this point. There's no point in further probation because he hasn't done anything on any of them.
Defense attorneys criticize these probation revocation hearings as another example of dangerous shortcuts in the legal system that circumvent the trial process.
An individual doesn't have a preliminary hearing. He doesn't have much of a hearing that he can contest that new case. So really, when you look at this whole system, it's really a charade of justice. It's not the substance of justice at all.
No, it's not a cheap way, and the defendant's rights are not being overlooked because he has a right to call all the witnesses he wants. He has a right to have a hearing, and there's a judge, and is he saying that the judge is not going to be fair and impartial? The hearing is there.
Attorneys like Jackson and Goldrosen and others who work every day in the courts say that while crack has put a strain on everyone and has overcrowded drug diversion and counseling programs, the legal system has not broken down yet.
Based upon your prior criminal record and your abundant failure to reappear in court when you've been asked to do so, I want you to know what the score is. You will not get a second referral to the drug diversion program. Do you understand that?
People are going to jail and people are going to prison, sometimes for fairly lengthy periods of time. I'd like to see the system doing more. I'd like to see the system rehabilitating people and working at the recidivist problem.
The cases are surviving. The cases are being prosecuted to the full potential. We're not giving cheap deals because of the fact that it's overworked. But at some point, something's going to have to break sometime.
Drugs are, of course, more than a legal problem, more than an individual problem for the user. They affect us all in one way or another, and they especially affect the families of the people who use them. In some black families, grandparents have shouldered much of the burden. The grandparent has long been a central figure in black families, often providing a vital economic benefit and a source of housing for several generations. They have also served as substitute parents to their grandchildren, while their adult children were off at work. Today it's different. Crack cocaine has forced some grandparents to assume new responsibilities. They must care for grandchildren whose parents have become crack addicts. It's a tough task, as Ginger Casey reports.
I feel like, just don't feel like I'm all by myself, just me and my baby brother, all in the world by ourselves. Like nobody there to take care of me. Like I don't even have a mother. I feel scared.
The courts called me and told me they found Monique on Taylor Street in an apartment with a lemon in the refrigerator, and she had been there 5 days. And they had sold all the furniture and everything, and she was sleeping on some clothes. Didn't even have a bed. And she loved her mother so much, she didn't want to turn them in. But she got so hungry, she went to the neighbors, and the neighbors reported it. And I had to go to the home to get her. And another time was when Stefan was 2 weeks old. She said, Mom, I gotta go, I'm bored, I gotta go. I said, well, you gotta stay here with the baby. I mean, I can't take care of the baby, I got things to do. And there was nothing I could do. She just walked out and left me there with the baby. I had to take care of him.
How can you love her so much when she puts you through so much pain?
She's my daughter. She's my daughter. I'm gonna always love her.
When Oralene Fortson was her daughter's age, she raised 4 children by herself. But now, at 54, at a stage in life when most women have time for themselves, Oralene does not. She spent the last decade bringing up her 11-year-old granddaughter, Monique, and her 16-month-old grandson, Stefan. Both are the children of her daughter, Elisa, who's addicted to crack.
You know what I mean? That's what crack does to people, destroys people's lives and with their loved ones, you know. When you lose trust for people, like especially people in your family, and that's about everything. That's the only thing you got is family members. When you lose that, you lose everything, you know. It doesn't really matter. And when I lost, when they took me to court with my daughter, I lost my daughter, I just didn't care anymore.
When she leaves, I feel like she hates me, man. She don't love me. Then when she comes back with all her excuses and all crying, they say, oh, she loves me like that. So I feel like I don't know if she loves me or she don't even want me.
My granddaughters and my grandson, they need their mother's love. I mean, I take care of them, I hold them, I give them all the care that they need. But then when I get through cleaning them up and feeding them, they want to know where their mother is.
Okay.
For many grandmothers like Oralene Fortson, the psychological stress has taken a physical toll. At San Francisco General Hospital, Sue Trupin, a registered nurse, and her colleague, Dr. Dorian Miller, were observing specific health problems in a number of their older women patients.
I guess the emotion.
I'd ask them, well, why is it, Mrs. Brown, after you've been doing so well with your illnesses, that all of a sudden things have gotten worse? What's going on at home? And that's when the Niagara Falls of tears would start with a lot of patients.
I'd notice this sort of faraway expression, and I would say, Ethel, what is going on, really? What is going on? And Ethel would proceed to describe the most horrendously complicated family situation.
Because of what they were seeing, Trupin and Miller decided to organize a support group to help the grandmothers cope.
You got too much emotional trauma going on, trying to deal with starting all over with babies again, and how are you going to arrange babysitting? Your nerves are not good enough to be able to stand dealing with the kids every day and running from place to place, trying to find these resources. And I've just gotten to the point I'm just angry, and this is not the way I want my grandchildren to grow up. They don't feel stable, and it's unfair. That's the point. It's unfair to the children. They have not...
A couple of months ago, Oraline began attending weekly meetings of grandparents as parents.
I've gone to the house, and my grandson was lying in the middle of the floor. She's visiting her friends, no one there. My 11-year-old granddaughter had to take care of him. The 11-year-old daughter was the mother. My daughter was the child. And I love my daughter so much that it's very hard for me to just say, I'm going to take the baby away from you.
It's very, very hard to treat your child, your adult child, as if he or she were your worst enemy, to say, cut, forget it, you're out of it. This isn't about you. I'm not gonna do this anymore.
It's lots of people that want their children, but until they get out of this drug thing, they won't get their children. So and it just keeps them using drugs.
I just want to check to see if you've got any fluid on your knee. Okay. Families are being torn apart by this. Children are being neglected. People who at one point may have had very responsible attitudes toward their children, oftentimes when they're on crack cocaine binges, they care little or nothing for the children.
Crack has an aspect to it which is just more excruciating than any drug crisis I've ever observed, and it seems to undermine instincts and values which are really accepted in society, and it's more than these grandparents can handle by themselves.
They sometimes sit in the exam rooms when I see them as patients and just, throw down their hands and start crying and saying, I don't know if I'm going to be able to go on. But they take a deep breath and they think about what they need to do in order to make it, and they push on.
Oraline has suffered from a heart attack, and she's been diagnosed with diabetes and high blood pressure. But in spite of that, she attends the support group meetings and is working toward a degree in nursing at San Francisco City College.
My life is hell. I spend my life picking up the pieces. I get organized, I get everything going, all set, all by myself, studying, getting good grades. Then my daughter comes back in. I have to start all over again. I'm of LVN, and I want to become a registered nurse. I want to open a nursing home. I want to take care of the aged. I want it to be pleasant to grow old. I see so much suffering with the older people, and I want them to have a place where they can come to and relax and get good care. It shouldn't be painful to grow old. And I'm going to be there soon, and I hope there's someone there that will take good care of me. That's what I want to do. That's my goal in life.
If I had this one integrated, cyclohexane.
And now I'm taking physiology, and I'm taking chemistry, and I'm going to have to take them all over again because I'm in class and I can't think. I'm talking to the instructors, and they're talking to me, and my mind is somewhere. Where's my granddaughter? Where's my grandson? Where's, how am I going to do it? I'm doing so many things, and I'm not doing anything well. I'm trying to spread myself too thin, and I can't think of one thing that I can let go or stop doing. Number 2, I don't have a social life. I don't have time for it.
One of the few happy moments in Oraline's life is the time she spends with her granddaughter Monique. And for Monique, Oraline is irreplaceable.
I know she always gonna be here. She's not gonna leave me. It was good. I know she's always gonna be there to help me, clothe me, and I know I'm not gonna be alone. She never leave me. If she does that, my auntie's always there. She goes, and she don't go very far. Don't leave me. I feel happy. I know she loves me. I don't have to know anything else but that she loves me.
She loves being with me, but she also loves her mother very much. And the time that she spends with her mother are good times. She has good quality time with her mother when her mother's, well. And her mother is trying. She just can't, she's just not strong. She tries really hard to do the right things. She's just not strong.
I want to be so many things. I want to be normal, respectable like everybody else. But wherever I go, you know, it just seems like it's there to bring me down.
No matter how hard she's tried, Elisa hasn't been able to kick her crack cocaine habit.
I've been in programs. I've been in a couple of programs trying to get straight. And it's really hard when you go home and it hits you at your door before, you know, the mailman hits you at the door or anything else, that, you know, the dope man is there at the door. And it's hard.
My daughter was in a shelter. And this is about the 4th shelter she's been kicked out of in the last 4 months. This time I thought I would bring her home. And I said, do you want to come home? You and the baby live with me, and then you won't have all these problems that you have with the shelter. And we'll work things out. The first night she was there, she went to bed. I got up and went to the living room, and the baby was there, no one but the baby. She was gone. So she came in about 5 that morning, banging on the door. So I let her in, and I told her, I said, you know, if you do this again, I'm not going to let you in.
The very next night, the same thing happened.
I knew that if I didn't do something right that moment, I wouldn't do anything. I'm really concerned about Stefan. He's number 1. I'm 54. He's 16 months. His life is ahead of him. Most of my life is behind me. I think his life is more important. And if I can do anything for his future effective, that's the thing I'll do. Okay.
What Orlean did was call the police to report that her car had been stolen by her daughter. Elisa was arrested. Now it would be up to the court to decide whether Elisa was fit to care for Stefan.
The minor is ordered detained with the maternal grandmother. The court at this time will order that drug counseling services and treatment services be provided to the mother, and the matter is ordered continued.
Lisa admitted to me, she said this morning, she said, Mama, I'm so sick. She said, I'm getting where I can't even hold my bowels. She said, this stuff is killing me. She said, I'm dying. She said, I know that I'm dying and I can't stop. She says, I know that I have to do something. So she was angry with me at first, but now she told me that she loved me very much and she knew that I did what I had to do.
Monique, tell me a little bit about how you feel about drugs.
I hate them. They were never invented. Because then I can't live with my mommy and can't be with my brother. So sometimes just I hate people that do drugs except for my mom. But really, I'm glad that I know all these things going. I get older, I won't take drugs. And I know what to do with my kids, because I practically raised a kid already myself. They just make so many things to kill people. Why can't they make so many things to keep us alive? Keep people together. People together, because it's sad. Everybody got somebody else's kids and nobody living with their right mind. So people walking around in the streets, no house, no home, no clothes, no money, no food. It's a cruel world.
In neighborhoods like this, Monique's hope for a world without drugs seems tragically remote. This is Hunters Point, one of more than a dozen San Francisco locales that have been pinpointed by police as centers of drug trafficking and use. Last spring, a major news story in the Bay Area centered around the killings of 3 people in the Hunters Point and Sunnydale areas of San Francisco. At the time, police called them gang shootings and predicted all-out gang warfare. That dire forecast has proven wrong. But the controversy over gangs and whether they really exist or not continues as police try to solve the shooting deaths. We looked into the violence and its history in an often ignored part of the city. It was 22 years ago. U.S. Senator Robert Kennedy and a committee were visiting Hunters Point, looking at public housing and asking residents why violence and rioting had taken place there.
Let me ask you this. You had problems and violence and disorder and lawlessness here about a year ago. Have the conditions that brought that about, have they changed over the period of the last 12 months?
And these young men have grew up in this situation. Police brutality, poor schools, poor education, kick-outs mostly. They call them dropouts, but they're kick-out in Hunters Point. If you are from Hunters Point, you get no chance at all.
Today, Hunters Point and nearby Sunnydale are still home mostly to poor blacks. The biggest change is the widespread sale and use of crack cocaine and the allegation that feuding gangs control it.
Me and my husband was looking at TV, okay, and it started some shooting in the back. And lucky that I was as quick as I was, and I went upstairs, and all of a sudden it sounded like a bunch of elephants, and the whole road got shot up.
It was a drug war. It's a drug war.
You know, but
I don't, we don't know. We're not in it.
I don't have nothing to do with it.
It's a good thing that my little girl right here
wasn't outside.
Yeah, I'm a smoker. I smoke crack, and so does she. But we're not in this. We're not in this.
I'm not in it, and I swear, I really would like for it to come to a halt and get the neighborhood back the way it was.
The frustration over the violence has infected nearly everyone, including kids of all ages.
Sunnydale has a reputation 4 months ago. Something happened this month. It's Sunnydale. We all lived here together for years. What we gonna want to go fighting each other for? People over there we know. We don't want to kill nobody.
What do you guys see as the whole problem related to the gangs and everything?
It's mainly just the drugs.
Okay.
At a special class for Hunters Point youngsters just entering their teens, drugs and violence are part of the curriculum.
It's no use of even, picking up a Uzi or something like that if you can't shoot a regular handgun. And then just imagine a Uzi, they can't hold that, Then that's how an innocent person gets shot, because the bullets spread all over. And somebody gets shot. They can't even hold a 38, that got a lot of power. And if they try to pick up a Uzi, they're gonna kill a lot of people like that.
If you take the weapon from any gang member, while you're alone, they just a bunch of regular people. But if they got guns or something, they kings and queens. You can't do nothing about it.
They do have guns, and in the past 2 years, they have used them increasingly. In Hunters Point, on a Saturday in April, somebody in a car opened up with an automatic weapon and killed 18-year-old Charles Hughes and 20-year-old Roshan Johnson, who were on a street corner. 9 others were injured. Police and the media called the shootings gang warfare, retaliation for the rifle shot killing a month earlier of 19-year-old Sunnydale resident Peter Lee Carr. Police have yet to charge anyone with these crimes. Witnesses won't talk. But narcotics task force officers claim that gangs provide the weapons used in such shootings.
With the crack cocaine business, you get a pager, you get a cellular telephone, you get some type of fancy car, you get usually a 9mm pistol of some type, you get an Uzi, an AR-15, an AK-47. It comes with the territory. That's what these gang members see on television, that's what they see in movies, and that's what they figure they have to do to protect their turf.
There's no proof that the shooting of Charles Hughes, known by his friends as Cheap Charlie, was part of a turf war. But police blame gangs for most of the 56 drive-by shootings in San Francisco last year. This year so far, there have been more than 40. The community is tense and fearful. In a church on 3rd Street this spring, hundreds of mourners grieved for Hughes' death and for the violence that they live with.
Bless this city, Heavenly Father. A city that is in turmoil, Heavenly Father. Bless us to do what we can to help them, Heavenly Father, so that they will realize that revenge is not the way. Let it be peace between Hunters Point and Sunnydale. Let it be peace between Fillmore and Hunters Point. Let it be peace, Heavenly Father, between Ocean View and Sunnydale. Let there be peace, Heavenly Father.
The calls for peace came also from one of Charlie Hughes' close friends, 21-year-old Henry Robinson, who wrote a poem that electrified the congregation.
This is all stupid. Who's next to die? People killing each other and we don't know why. Power and drugs is not the situation. The reason we're fighting is no communication. It's not the mother, sister, or daddy, or either a Granada, Caprice, or Caddy. It's me and you and me. Sunny
I was a good friend of Charlie, and Charlie wasn't, into no gang, or he wasn't into no such type violence. And we made him talk a lot, And, I couldn't let the media see him go out as a gang member or a leader or whatever.
Henry Robinson, like many of his friends in Hunters Point, claims that organized gangs do not exist.
There's no gangs, All these guys from, Fillmore, from Sunnydale, from Hunters Point, all grew up together. They good friends, they just, be together, man. Let's all go to movies, let's all go to a concert, Let's all go to the gym and shoot ball together,
The reason for the shootings, Robinson says, is that youngsters from different areas get into fights and then embellish the incidents to impress their friends, who often retaliate.
Instead of them two handling out man to man, this guy goes back and was, hey, I was jumped by about 10 guys, 20 guys. They all jumped me, had guns, and beat me up bad. Let's go over there and get them guys. Okay, the other guys is acting out of revenge for their friend. They grew up with this guy. They feel his guy was harmed and hurt. They feel he shouldn't have been harmed and hurt. They feel, hey, them guys shouldn't have jumped on him. It should have been a one-on-one fight, which by them not being there, they never knew what really happened.
Robinson is one of many young men who confide in Thomas Mayfield, recreation director at the Hunters Point Gym for 20 years. Mayfield says nearly all the kids want the killing to stop.
They've been wanting to stop, but you always hear that saying, one rotten apple spoils the barrel. You might have 99% of the people ready to stop, but you get one guy, that can talk 2 or 3 other guys into going to do something, and then you're starting everything up. If it wasn't the case, you would have 20, 30, 40, 50 killings.
But police say it's more than a few rotten apples. It's gang warfare, San Francisco style.
It doesn't have the roots that the gangs have had in Brooklyn and Los Angeles. The gangs in San Francisco are basically instrumental gangs. They use that gang membership, that gang affiliation, as their instrument to deal crack cocaine and control turf.
Do they do anything else? Is that their sole purpose?
That's just about their sole purpose, to protect each other, to organize street corners, to protect that turf and to expand that turf.
They got guys in Hunters Point who sell dope. That's obvious. They got guys in Fillmore, Sunnydale, but they're not gangs. They just live there.
The police department, the newspapers, they all, youths form turf super gangs. Here's a map of all the gangs in San Francisco, the Deucetown gang, the Hunters Point gang, the Sunnydale gang, and a whole bunch of others, the Out of Control gang.
But these are not gangs. These are just places where they live. Where this is, this is the paper saying that they're gangs.
Well, but they got that from the police.
Do they have anything that identifies them as a gang?
They got that from the police. Isn't there a Hunters Point gang?
No, there's guys that live in Hunters Point that do illegal things.
The media blows it up to be, well, these two San Francisco gangs are fighting over crack and crack territories. It's not that, see, because they have their own crack spots, and I guess Sunnydale has it. Why would someone from Sunnydale, it's all the mental thing, why would someone from Sunnydale want to go to Hunters Point and sell their product to people that they don't know? They hang around people that you don't know or whatever, and take a chance of being robbed or even killed.
In early September, a lot of pressure was put on the Sunnydale and the crack cocaine to stop the crack cocaine sales. It obviously dried up the market in Sunnydale. A whole lot of gang members depend upon the funding that comes from the sale of crack cocaine. So they felt that an expansion was the only way that they could keep up the profits that they were making, and they did try to expand into 3rd Street.
That explanation is rejected by this young Sunnydale resident who wants to protect his identity. Like many people here, he denies the very existence of gangs. Are you in one of these groups or gangs?
It's I don't know why they call it a gang. Okay, say like you have old friends you still be with, or a group of friends, that you know, maybe go home and barbecue with, or hey, Jim, you know, come by. You know, it's just like that.
Whatever it is, Tom Mayfield has been working, so far with some success, to get the feuding, angry youngsters to talk.
The kids that have a lot of influence on a lot of the other kids, get them together and sit down and talk and let them see for themselves that what they're doing is not doing anything but hurting themselves. And then carrying it back into their community and spreading the word to everybody.
Try to realize that it is a problem, that there is drugs being sold in the communities, that there is a problem, and then try to help the problem. Don't criticize or put a black eye on the problem, because that's not helping it. You listen to the kids, listen. You don't talk, and you don't tell them what you're gonna do and what you want. You listen and find out what they want and see if it's any way possible that you can fulfill their needs.
It's all stupid, to tell you the truth. It ain't nothing. We should both learn from all this and let it go. They lost a life and we lost a life. You know what I'm saying? And if we keep losing lives, then hey, ain't gonna be much more for us to live for. If a bullet gonna take it away, it's that quick. It's gonna keep going back and forth, then it's gonna get out of control. That's why I should stop now before it really starts and be a lot more innocent people killed.
As we said at the beginning of this program, the drug epidemic has a wide range of unpleasant and expensive side effects. We've shown you a few of them tonight, and we'll continue to cover the story as it develops on Express, here on Channel 9, Friday nights at 8, Saturday nights at 6:30.
We hope we've added to your understanding of the drug problem. Thanks for watching. For KQED, I'm Spencer Michaels.
And I'm Akili Buchanan. Good night.